Who will bail the cat?
So, jealous? Okay.
Come on.
Really? Okay, so, I don't know, jealousy is when maybe someone has something and you want it, you know, I don't
coveting.
know.
Thou
That's
shalt not covet your neighbor's.
That's envy.
Okay, so it's a negative emotion, I think, that comes from sort of looking outside of yourself and looking at someone else's situation, you know, and maybe desiring that. I think it's the emotion that comes from coveting, envy. So jealousy is the emotion. That
comes from covetousness.
That comes from covetousness and envy. So it's the emotion.
You can tell I go to
I
church.
think that envy and jealousy now kind of like, they are like almost the same thing now. I don't know.
What you say now, what do you mean now? Because of
I
the way
mean,
we have
this
used
generation or so, because I think there's actually a difference between envy and jealousy.
Yes,
you can tell us about it.
Yeah, jealousy is when you protect what you have. Sometimes it's also an illusion of what you also have. But envy is more of coveting. So you want what someone else has. Yes, it's different. Okay. That's the basic definition.
I think that makes sense because it then puts a context on jealousy.
On jealousy, yes.
A context that includes other people.
Right.
And the threat of losing what you have to someone else.
Yes.
Whether it's love or the impression of being the best. So, for example, if you're the bright student in class, and then a new student comes.
Absolutely.
And the teacher begins to say, oh, you're smart. You know, they begin to, because you're losing your think
place.
you're going to lose your place, the place you've chosen.
Yes. Yeah.
But I also, for that reason, think that it's a choice. It's a conscious choice to be jealous or not to be jealous. And I think that whilst instinctively we may have jealous feelings,
tendencies,
how we manage it is well within our own choice.
Absolutely, I agree.
You know.
Okay, that's a good point. I agree that, I think that because we're human, it's easy to have any of these emotions.
Yes.
But the emotion might come, how you manage it. So it may not be your choice how you react to, say, somebody else's success. Like, oh, we're envious of it. But how you react when you feel that emotion now makes you the better man or not, as a woman, as it were.
Because jealousy is something that happens naturally. Even the Bible says God is a jealous God, you know? So it's something that everybody, you can't say you have never been jealous. It's something that happens to everybody. So I think it's the ability to be able to control the emotions. And for me, I've been able to do that because I've had lots of experiences and all that. I would not say I've not been jealous of people. I've had a very late start in life and all that. I see my mates going ahead of me, my siblings and all that. But for me, rather than, you know, react negatively, I kind of see them and see people around me doing great things as an inspiration. Or how do I put it? I get inspired. Rather than get jealous, I get inspired that, okay, if these people can do this, that means I can actually do this. I can actually achieve this.
Okay,
and,
so you say
you know,
this,
it drives me.
You say this, but I want to hear what the this is. What are some of those experiences or encounters that have led you to, you know, that have tested your ability to be jealous?
Wow. Okay, let me start with when I was 6 years old. My sister and I just landed in the same class. They gave her double promotion. She was always coming first, you know. And we landed in the same class. And when she got into my class, it was an one-arm school. And she started topping the class, and I was coming 13th, 14th position. And when people even come to our house, they're looking at her, they're saying, oh my gosh, she's so pretty. And nobody's saying anything to me, you know. And for me, you know, I just feel like I'm ugly. If nobody's saying I'm pretty, they look at me, they're not saying anything. And then she gets to do all the flower girls, all the little brides, and nobody invites me to do anyone, you know. So it started from that age. She was able to get into the university, into school. I was at home, the other one, you know. So I just felt like I was in some sort of competition with her, and she was getting ahead of me. In fact, because of the experiences I had, you know, while growing up and while, you know, going through the fires of entrepreneurship, I just launched a book, The Persistent Woman Overcoming 20 Years of Rejection.
Wow.
So,
interesting.
yeah.
So your story reminds me of a song that we learnt in primary school, The Ugly Duckling.
Grew up to be a swan.
Yes, became a swan. And the Ugly Duckling, nobody noticed the ugly duckling, but it became the most beautiful swan with the longest neck, you know? And I think it's a way to positively channel those feelings.
Yeah.
But I just want to take you up on something you said. I don't think everybody is envious or jealous. I think that some people are born with a deep level of contentment.
Yeah.
They don't want what any other person has. And if you come and they think you're better than them, they're happy for you to be better than them. But there are very, very few people, which is why I think we can also choose to be like that. You channeled your envious energy, so to speak, into positive things.
Yeah.
And here you are. You've written a book. You're getting on with your life.
Yeah.
I always felt as well that I was the ugliest in the house.
Wow.
I always did. And it took a while for me to decide that. I don't know if I was envious in any way, but it was a sad feeling. Let me put it that way. I felt like the ugly duckling, yes. So that song was very, you know, yes, I really liked it because I just felt it you know, represented how I felt.
Yeah.
And the idea that I could become a swan. And I think it's such a truism that if you take some of these songs and parables and things,
And quotes
you
and
can
all of
see a future that is better and
Exactly,
beyond what you feel. So jealousy and envy can always be a stepping stone to achieving great things because you put them where they belong. You know, like you said, you use it to channel your energies to achieve and to strive and to excel.
Yeah.
And I think that's the important
From
thing.
where you're taking it from, I want the wellness coach to talk about the pros and the cons. Are there pros and cons? Because she's talked about how she has, you know, used that as the leverage.
Yeah.
You know.
Jealousy in its basic form stems really mostly from love. It's a feeling like we've discussed that you're losing something. So I can't say there are pros to it, but the fact is that it's as a result of a feeling. And sometimes it's a perception. It's not always real. So it's for you to visit yourself, like we've mentioned, it's all about self-awareness. It's visiting yourself and understanding where this emotion is coming from. Like I think I watched a movie about when a woman had a new baby and the first child became obsessed. You know, the mom is now breastfeeding another child. They're not being breastfed. Exactly, but they're forgetting that they've gone beyond the age of being breastfed. But that can also, that's why jealousy is not always about, it's not external, it's more internal, and it's mostly amongst people that are not related, but that know each other. Envy is more for the outside people. Instagram, Facebook. You want the popularity. You want to be
what they have.
Yes, what they have, and that can be more. Actually, they both can be possessive and become, you know, negative. But I think that the jealousy stems from people that you know, you already, you know, have a relationship with your husband, maybe he has a new friend, you're spending more time with that person, you're becoming... Even football.
The mother-in-law.
You mentioned the mother-in-law.
The mother-in-law, you know, jealous of the daughter-in-law. You know, because that happens. The attention of your son there's now a first lady, so to
So
speak.
speaking of your son, Ebon, would you talk about how jealousy or envy affects people in relationships? As the true flatter consultant yourself.
That's my brother, so not me. But how it affects people in relationships. I remember I was having a conversation with my husband just last night about some friends of his that he has, and I just feel like, okay, my husband is generally chill at home, you know, with his family, but when this particular set of friends sort of, you know, come out of the woodwork, he just kind of, you know, vanishes. Oh, I'm hanging out with this person and that person. I was just like, what is it with these people? You know, so I think that somehow you have a defined relationship with someone. It could be your friend, it could be your husband or your son. And when things kind of go out of order and then the attention is shifting elsewhere, you know, it kind of ruffles our feathers, doesn't it?
For me, football ruffles my feathers.
But then again, when you look at insecurity and where all this comes from, do you think when you look at envy, it's about what you feel when you're not enough?
Yes.
Someone is better than you.
A
Someone
lack of self-confidence.
Yes,
Like, that can lead to that, yes. Anxiety. And also not realizing even your own strengths. If you don't even know that you're amazing, then anybody else that is perceived to be amazing would affect you. So it's always a good thing to visit yourself and identify your own strengths. Celebrate your strengths and let that be your focus and driving force. That would eliminate a bit of this jealousy that we usually...
Other than you desiring to be like the other person.
Because the truth is that you're never going to maybe have all that you want, and there's always going to be somebody that has a bit more than you.
Sure.
So if you live your life in that space, you are going to be quite an unhappy person.
Okay, we're going to go on a break right now, and when we come back, we'll talk about the breeding grounds for these negative emotions. Don't go away, we'll be back on the lounge. Now, we've all agreed that jealousy and envy are negative emotions, but there's usually a breeding ground for these negative emotions. The same way love grows on fertile ground. If a child is showered with love, then they're able to give love. What are some of those things that people pick up on as children or as younger people, or even as adults, that sort of feed jealousy, so that suddenly now people say, oh, my haters, all my haters. It's almost like we're living in a world where we're suspicious of everyone around us, whether close or far away.
But the thing is, I don't know that you can bring people up lovingly, and they're so jealous and envious because it's from within. It's a personal trait. It may be increased, the tendency to it, by the way in which you're brought up.
Yes.
But fundamentally, it's from within. Because you always know people who you see are loved. And I find that there are always two sides. I remember watching an interview with a singer, an international singer, and he was saying that he was really unhappy over a number of years with the person he was going out with. And yet when the person was interviewed, that person thought those were the happiest years of their own lives. You know, but you say, but, oh, that's a lovely position you got there. But it will really mean you're going to be in traffic all the time. You're going to be working late. You know? Just what I'm saying. So that's envy right there.
Yeah.
That's envy right there. And then if it's like a husband and a wife and a woman or a man, simply because there's another party that you consider as good looking. And I like what you said about perception. The person is good looking, so you imagine the person is a threat. The person is not a threat. She doesn't want your husband, or he doesn't want your wife. It's just that they're good friends. But you build up this whole drama, and we're really good at building up drama. And I think that's part of why these things become virulent, and then people begin to kill each other and poison each other and backstab each other simply because of what they imagine.
You know, you actually said something very profound, because I remember my mom telling me, because while trying to write a book, I wanted to get my mommy's side of the story, you know, and all that. She said to me, and I was shocked, because my auntie confirmed it. She said my sister at that time, too, was feeling abandoned. She felt that she was doing very well and she'd be getting all the accolades, but they were rather paying attention to me, that I wasn't doing well, because I started having serious issues. I wasn't getting into school. People were coming to my parents, telling them I could never amount to anything in life, you know. I had my struggle was a lot. So my parents were focusing on me, trying to ensure that exactly I don't commit suicide, you know, and all that. So she felt like, why are they giving me all the attention? Wow. And she was really bitter, and not just bitter against me, because for 2 years we didn't even talk. She was also bitter against my mother, my parents, for paying attention to me.
Well, this is so interesting.
Because
the person who
has perception
is jealous of the person who doesn't have.
Seemingly doesn't have.
But that's where we come back to, she had a perception, she also had hers. So there's a saying in psychology that the reality that you see is only your reality. You see life from your own perspective, not as life is. So that's why if you are already you lack confidence, and your husband, in this case, has a friend that is female, you perceive her to be more beautiful. Doesn't mean she is. But that's why you must focus on your own strengths. I think it's personal. Yeah. Like she said, some people are born with deep contentment, but you can also learn to be content.
Yes. It's a choice.
It's a choice. You can learn to decide that, okay, my life is good. And I think if you're doing the best with your life, you would always feel okay. Not that, like me, I feel like sometimes, okay, I'm a single woman in my 30s, and there's always conversations around
So when are we coming to
40.
Dior?
Someone still said that to me last week. We are still waiting, though. I said, well, there's rice in a lot of restaurants. You can eat it. And, you know, it takes a lot of self-development and self-awareness to understand that regardless of that, me not having this thing that the world thinks is everything, I am absolutely enough. And I love my life. So every day, my personal mantra is every single day is to put my best foot forward. And once I do that, I think that's what we need to get to.
People also be envious of you.
Absolutely.
Yes. Let me tell you a fun fact. From what she said, you know, that this thing is inborn. The fun fact, you know when you say jealousy and the green-eyed monster?
Yes.
In ancient Greece, they used to say that jealousy is from overproduction of bile. And bile, you know, bile is green.
It's green.
And it actually makes your skin green. And that was how the green eye started with the associated green eye with jealousy. Now, adding monster to it was by Shakespeare in one of his books, in one of his stories, Othello and Merchant of Venice. And he used it, so green-eyed monster.
But it is a monster. It is a monster. And the interesting thing is that it's the jealous person who is unhappy.
It is.
Yes.
So even if just to make yourself happy is enough reason not to be envious and jealous.
Exactly. And you know, the shameful part of it is that the other party might not even know that.
Yes.
And then you're just suffering, you're miserable, you're not even sleeping, you're crying. There's sometimes that it can be that deep, that you're crying, you're in pain, you're so envious, you're so jealous, and all.
It's self-inflicted.
That is an emotion, but you know,
sometimes it hurts. Sometimes it really hurts.
That's what I'm saying. It's now going to have
I found myself there
physiological effect. Yeah,
exactly.
There is study to show that, you know, hatred is linked to cancer in some cases.
No.
Yes.
But I think
Deep.
in raising our children, you know, I sometimes hear of children talking about things like cars, you know, and I just feel like they're too little to be concerned about things like that, because they can't even buy it, you know. So why?
What do you understand?
Do you understand?
You talked about breeding ground. The home, I think, is this key place that we have to watch it.
Absolutely. So for me, sort of, you know, creating that environment for my kids, like, why, you know, like, why are we even talking about that? And focus on the things that really matter, which is building character, you know, and actually building values.
But it's actually important for them to talk about it, because one of the things that I did when my children were in primary school is that if they talked about a toy that somebody had, they never got it. They never got it. That was just simple policy. You have things that other people don't have. They will have things that you don't have. And that's how life is. You can't have everything.
Yeah, true. But when does it become envy or jealousy, though? Because sometimes you see someone, you've lost it, oh my God. You know, I like it and I want, and you know, I like it and I want you to tell me, I like your dress.
When he obsesses you, you leave her, I like your dress, and you've gone, I like that dress.
That dress.
I should even get it. That's where it starts to fester.
Exactly. And you could say, I love that dress. Oh my God, she just inspired me to make it.
But when it festers and it starts to...
It tilts at some point. You know, I admire something and you inspire me to do something, but then I start to copy exactly what you're doing. Is that admiration? Or is that just laziness?
Okay, but what's the difference? I like your necklace. I really like it. Where did you get it? Can I buy one too?
Some people will say, oh no, it was a gift. They'll never tell you where they bought it. They'll never tell you where they made their hair.
Yeah.
Do you know people like that?
Yeah.
They'll never tell you. And I'm not trying to be like you. I just like,
I just like it.
That's back to being insecure.
You know, so that's where you know, the admiration. I mean, I think, honestly, if I can inspire someone to do what I do, and I think it's a good thing, you know, it's a compliment to me.
Yes.
You know, I think imitation is a compliment.
That I've taken people, I've introduced other people, including my friends, to the same kind of business. And a lot of them are shocked that, Tokumbo, how would you do this? Well, I tell people that, see, the sky is big enough. It's big enough. And for me, I just believe that when you bless people, God will bless you. Yes. It's not about, you know, when you're even holding on so much to something, it's like you're holding on. How would you even receive? So I have learned to, you know, just give. I don't care. You love my dress? Oh, I introduced my tailor. She's good. I can get the fabric here, you know, and all that. I just feel like...
The problem is not from you, though. It's from the other person and their perception of you and what you stand for. Absolutely. So they're wanting to be you. And there are a lot of people who want to be somebody else. Yes. You know, it's one thing to copy a person or imitate them, but there comes a point where you now want their life, and that's when it becomes really dangerous.
Yeah. There's nothing wrong with wanting your dress. Yeah. It's a dress at the end of the day. Yeah. But it's now your kids,
everything
the husband.
You have the dress now, but it doesn't fit you, or you think it doesn't fit you as much, so you want the body as well, the person's body.
And you can hit the gym if you want the body.
You can have the body. When you've got the body, then...
Okay, so at this point, we can talk about this for hours on end.
Yes.
Yeah. Yes, and there's so many ways to look at it, but I'd like to hear your final thoughts. Eben, would you start?
Yeah, I was just, watching a video from someone called Shireen Mitwali a couple of days ago, and he says that in this world, there are always 3 groups of people. So 33.3% of people will love you. And, the other third of people will always be on the fence. And another third, they'll be haters, or, they'll be jealous, or they'll hate you. So never worry about that. So when you encounter those people, know that, okay, they represent one of the thirds, and, just roll with it.
Cool.
Okay, yes. I think Mrs. Foma said something that really struck me. She said, at the heart of everything is contentment. I think that it's very important to focus on yourself, do the best with your life, and nourish your own life. I think they say the grass is greener on the other side, but it's actually greener where you water it. Yes. Water your life enough that nobody else's life looks more attractive than yours. That's what I do with mine. So, yeah.
Okay, for me, I had a lot of jealousy issues growing up and all that, and the good thing about it is that I've been able to convert it into a strength and now into a book. So my book is out, yeah. The Persistent Woman Overcoming 20 Years of Rejection. It's in all the big bookshops in Nigeria.
Nice. Lovely.
Yeah, thank you.
So there's a saying, we talked about the green-eyed monster. There's a Bible verse that says, out of the heart flows the issues of life. Guard your heart with all diligence, for out of it flow the issues of life. Now, if we don't guard our hearts, jealousy can become that monster, so that it starts as one little thing, and then a little emotion can grow to, us doing all sorts of things just so that we're at peace. But really, the peace comes from within you. Yeah. So that's it.
What I'll say is you're enough. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Just find that space within you for that thing that makes you happy. Nobody else has it.
True.
And that's it.
Yeah. I like that. That's a salad.
Yes, and let me take it from where Ifeoma says that, there's nothing good about jealousy or envy. We all say, like, oh, I envy this, I envy that. And I think we should stop saying that, because it's not a good emotion at all. It's about having self-fulfillment, know who you are, love who you are. If you don't love yourself, nobody else will.
I hate to bring you back, but I need us to quickly. You will say that God is a jealous God, but God can't have any negative emotions.
We are not God.
Mm-hmm. That's different.
It's okay. Not a negative
the context
emotion.
of God's own is different.
It's different,
What he's saying is that he is the one, the creator, and we should love him and not replace him with idols.
Great.
Totally different.
So this has been the conversation today. We want to hear from you. Their social media handles are scrolling on the screen. Please get in touch with us. We'll see you next week.
For upcoming artists to blow in Nigeria.
Welcome to Plus Trending. I am Booking November, your host, saying thank you for joining us on today's episode.
Welcome back. It's tea time on PlusTvAfrica.
Practice makes perfect. I'm not perfect yet, but I'm a lot better than I used to be.
He's a king. He's entitled to marry 100 if he wants to.
There is no voting on social media. To vote, you would require a permanent voter's card. To get your PVC, visit cvr.inecnigeria.org. Create your account with a valid email address and start the registration process. An activation link will be sent to you. Click on the link and activate your account. Fill out the form, pick and submit a convenient date and time for your biometrics. Print the application slip, which should have your QR code. On the appointed date, go to the nearest INEC office for your biometric capturing. Thereafter, you will get a registration slip to pick your permanent voter's card when ready. Get your PVC today. This message is from PlusTvAfrica.
On Plus TV News Now, Federal High Court in Abuja sacks 20 lawmakers in Cross River for defecting to the All Progressives Congress APC. ECOWAS envoy leaves Mali without deal on poll date. President Volodymyr Zelensky vows not to accept Russia's ultimatums to end war. Good evening. I'm Loretta Chiogo. This is News Now. The Kaduna State government has imposed a 24-hour curfew on Jemaah and Kara local government areas of the state. This followed the violence that claimed over 15 lives in Kagoro on Sunday night. The state's Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Aruwan, said the measure was to allow security agencies save lives and property and restore law and order in the areas. Meanwhile, the chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, CAN, in Kaduna State, Reverend John Hayab, has described fresh attacks on southern Kaduna as sad. He said that human beings were killed while there has been inadequate protection from the government. He urged residents in the area to defend themselves against the bandits. We're now being joined by the Kaduna State Chairman of the Christian Association of Nigeria, Reverend John Hayab. Reverend Joseph Hayab. Reverend, good evening to you, and thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. Good evening, viewers.
Good evening to you. Kaduna is again being hit by attacks. What could be responsible for this?
Well, sometimes when we are confronted with this question, we turn to ask those who are in position of leadership, what is happening? Why have we not been able to tackle our challenge? Are we the only people that have herdsmen and farmers? Because, you know, that is the term that is always used, that is herdsmen-farmers conflict. And I ask this question, where is the farmers-herders clashes? When innocent women and children, aged people are sleeping in their sleep and gunmen will come attack them, massacre them in this merciless way that we saw. Then you call them herders, you call that herders farmers. That is unfortunate. But sincerely speaking, we have not been able to tackle the insecurity in Kaduna State head on, simply because government have really not shown commitment government have always wanted to play lip service to issue of insecurity. Every day when an evil thing like that is done, government will just come and condemn it. And I asked them this question: how many people who have been killed that know that government condemned those who killed them? Because a dead man does not know what government says after he is dead. What we're supposed to be doing is to take proactive measure and ensure that security of lives and properties is being protected. But as I've always also explained in fora like this, our governor started wrongly, because when he started and these criminals and bandits started attacking everybody.
Reverend,
last week they were in Giwa, now they are, the other week they were in Kachia, and now they are in Kaguru. So continuously everywhere.
Reverend, are you saying that there's not been presence of security operatives?
There's presence of security operatives in Kaduna State on the national newspaper and television, because our governor knows how to get newspapers and television to tell the world that he is working. But the reality is that nothing is on ground, because whether you see them, they are not there to secure you. They are not there to protect you. They are just there for a show. The other day, actually on Friday, last week Friday to be precise, I drove between Kefi and Kaduna, or Southern Kaduna, and something happened. I saw this particular checkpoint where they have a name tag that they are counter-terrorism unit. Sadly, what they were just doing there was collecting offering. And I told the person with me in the car that I will change their name to counter-offering unit, because they are not securing anybody. They are not doing anything to secure people than to collect offerings. The same thing applies when you see security in the city and in many places. Truly speaking, there are many of these security agencies that are not doing enough to protect citizens. They are not doing enough to secure the land. They are not doing enough. And I can put it to the governor. The reason is that once they meet a security council, if the security chiefs are advising him on what to do, he shows them that he knows everything. He does not want to listen to them. And because they don't want to go in a loggerhead with him, they don't want to begin to have quarrel with the governor, they dance according to his tune. That's why we are where we are today. If they cannot tell the world, we should tell the people that our governor is refusing to listen. He shows he wants to prove he knows, but sadly he has not done what someone who knows is supposed to be doing.
I believe the government is listening to you. However, you have said that residents should resort to self-defense. How realistic and safe is this?
Really speaking, it may not be realistic, but what other option do we have? It may not be realistic, but can people tell us what option? Not one, not twice, not 4 times, not 10 times, not 20 times. Communities have been ransacked, people killed, children killed, women killed, aged people killed. What else can people do? We ran to government, we didn't have help. They promised us on national dailies, but there is nothing concrete on ground to show that their promise was genuine. Since we cannot trust anything anymore, because the longer we trust them and depend on them, the more our communities are being destroyed, the more people are being killed. So the best thing is we either wake up and protect ourselves, or we continue to do burial services. And as a pastor, I don't think I want to be doing burial services all the days. So I believe that if government refuses to protect us, the constitution of this land gives us the permission to defend ourselves. We are not going to attack anybody, but when someone, look, show me a man who is standing with his wife and an idiot comes and slaps his wife. Then he wants to run and look for a governor who will come, or a police who will come to arrest the idiot who has slapped his wife. It's never happened. You will show him that the husband of this woman is here. What we are simply saying is that if these people keep coming to our community and we have relied on government, we have depended on security agencies and nothing is happening, then let's do, because if we do not protect ourselves, we are going to die. If we protect ourselves, according to your thinking, we are going to die. So why don't we die honorably than die like chickens?
Reverend, I share in your emotions, and thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Thank you very much.
And do keep safe.
Thank you very much.
The news continues. Civil rights advocacy group Human Rights Writers Association of Nigeria, HURIWA, has said that the unending bloodbath and chaos in Kaduna State, northwest Nigeria, were obvious signs of descent into anarchy. In a statement, HURIWA said security agents as well as the federal government, led by the President Muhammadu Buhari, and the Kaduna State government under Governor Nasir El-Rufai must rise up quickly and stop the unending carnage in Kaduna. The group said the 24-hour curfew imposed by Governor El-Rufai on Jemaah and Kara was not enough, as the attacks on southern Kaduna have intensified in the last few months, with many casualties. The police command in Zamfara has confirmed the killing of 16 persons in Sunday's attack by bandits in Ghana Kiyawa village of Bukuyum local government area of the state. The command's public relations officer, Muhammad Shehu, said that the figure dished out by a section of the media was not correct. He called on the people to continue to support the government and security agencies with useful information in order to complement efforts at addressing the security challenges faced by the state. And away from the north to the east, the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, has distanced itself from Saturday's burning of the house of the President General of Ohaneze Ndigbo, George Obiozor. The group, in a statement by its media and publicity secretary, Ima Powerful, described the act as barbaric, shameful and disgraceful, vowing to unmask those behind the attack. It regretted that the Ohaneze president had done nothing to deserve such a devilish attack, alleging that perpetrators were those against Biafra's liberation and the release of its leader, Nnamdi Kanu. The Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, has granted the former governor of Anambra State, Willie Obiano, an administrative bail. However, EFCC's chairman, Abdurrashid Bauer, mentioned that Obiano was still in its custody as he was yet to meet his bail condition. Also, the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS, and the Network of National Anti-Corruption Institution, NASIWA, have pledged to partner to end corruption. ICPC, which are joint hosts, assured of Nigeria's commitment to the success of the regional body in the war against corruption and related offenses.
Fragility is made worse by several other factors. Political instability in member countries, the insecurity across the sub-region, poor governance structures, weak rule of law, and then, of course, corruption. Now, as you know, that corruption is a push factor for all of these elements within the sub-region, so which makes it much more imperative for us to work together, especially given the high mobility of illicit financial flows, light arms, drug trafficking, human trafficking, all of the factors that lead to weak states that we need to work together. No single agency, either in country or out of country, can work on this alone.
It has to do with international cooperation. We need to cooperate with one another. It's a borderless crime that we are looking at almost on daily basis, issues of money laundering across the shores of this country. And that is why NASIWA was formed in the first instance, and that is why we are here for the 5th annual general meeting, to be able to deliberate and cooperate with one another, to share intelligence, to share information. And that is the essence of the meeting today, and that is what we hope to achieve. All around the world is a global trend that nations or anti-corruption agencies must cooperate with one another. From UNCAC to ECOWAS Protocol to African Union Convention on corruption, all these documents have emphasized the need for international cooperation, and that is why we are here also today.
The president of NASIWA commended the EFCC and the ICPC for its doggedness in the fight against graft in Nigeria.
We are very grateful that we are here today to continue the work that we are asked to do, to deliberate on issues, to look into the challenges, to come out, go down, deep down, and come out with solutions that can continue to help the transparency framework and space in West Africa.
Nigeria was also one of the driving forces for many, many years until we achieved success about 3 or 4 years ago in pushing through at the United Nations General Assembly the promotion of international cooperation to combat illicit financial flows and strengthen good practices on asset returns for the sustainable development.
I must particularly commend His Excellency General Muhammadu Buhari, retired, GCFR, President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, as well as his other peers and brother head of states and government for their leadership, dependable support, and constructive guidance to the ECOWAS Commission, which has enabled the ECOWAS Commission to perform its mission, and in particular, advancing the promotion of democracy and good governance in the region. Allow me to also use this opportunity to commend the steps taken by various member states' government towards making the culture of transparency, accountability, and integrity entrenched in the governance process in the region.
A federal high court in Abuja has struck out the motion filed by the sacked governor of Ebonyi State, David Umahi, seeking a stay of execution of the judgment it gave on March 8. Justice Inyang Ekwo struck out the motion after the counsel to Umahi and his deputy Kelechi Igwe prayed the court for the withdrawal of the motion, which was not opposed by the lawyer to the People's Democratic Party, Emmanuel Okala. The judge also directed the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to immediately receive from the PDP the names of its candidates to replace them. Also from the court, the High Court sitting in Abuja has sacked 20 members of the Cross River State House of Assembly who defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. In a judgment delivered by Justice Taiwo Taiwo, the court held that the lawmakers needed to vacate their seats since they had abandoned the party which brought them to power. We're now being joined by Vinicius Ikem. He's the PDP chairman in Cross River State. And also joining us live is the NBA chairman, Calabar branch, Ata Ochinke. Good evening to you, gentlemen.
Good evening, and thank you for having me.
And I'll go first to Ikem, the chairman of the PDP in Cross River State. You've heard about the judgment where 20 lawmakers who defected from PDP to APC have been sacked by the court. How is that coming to the PDP? How is that news coming to the PDP?
Yeah, hold that for me.
Yes, it's for you.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, that's for me as not so much as a surprise. Very pleasant news at this point in time, and of expectation. Very hopeful because we feel that very happening on the because the mandate was that all that happened. So we are because currently.
I guess we're having some cracks in the audio.
But the of God, still someone was mandate given to really given. It was quite different. Imagine how a party primary election could be an opposition party period. So that travesty of justice has been and we feel quite elated. Like we say, but beyond all the criticism, I think before all that.
I wish I could sustain you, but the audio is not so good. Mr. Ikem, I wish we could still bring you back before the end of the bulletin. So I'll go over to the lawyer standing by, Mr. Ochinke. I believe you're with me now.
Yes, I'm with you.
So, to a layman like me, can you interpret that judgment, and why is the court thinking for people to defect from one party to the other, they have breached some kind of agreements? Can you interpret that law?
That's very simple and straightforward to interpret, actually. With regard to the legislators, it's a question of interpreting the Constitution. They knew there is the Constitution provides circumstances under which a legislator may leave the party under which is elected. Now, those circumstances did not exist as at the time the legislators in Cross River State decamped from the PDP and went to the APC. The constitutional provision then is that if you decamp in those circumstances where you have no reason to leave your party, or where the reason for leaving your party is not recognized, you should vacate your seat. That one is a clear constitutional matter. So the court just applied the Constitution. What happened here is that the members of the House of Assembly decamped from the party that elected, under which they were elected, and they joined the APC. The Constitution says the people of Cross River State elected PDP. They looked at the manifesto of the political party and elected that party. If you have their mandate, you have no right to carry their mandate to another political party. When they elected you, they expected you to implement the manifesto which they chose. If they wanted the manifesto of the other party, then they would have chosen that, they would have elected that party. So that's the issue here. With regard to this judgment, there is no controversy.
Okay, so Mr. Ochinke, I'll put you on a little pause.
For those who the finance is really survival, it was quite demoralizing to have a system where a party that wins election very freely and by a single flat of one individual is considered an opposition. It was not a comfortable place to be.
Moving from the party to other parties.
Well, that's for the people who decided to challenge the action itself. And clearly, the justice on the side. For us, we have indicated that we should have challenged their actions. I believe that moving forward,
I'm so sorry about that. I think we lost that audio. I'll return to you, Mr. Ochinke, and I'll just want to ask just one more question. These lawmakers who have been ruled out by the court to say they've done the wrong thing and have been sacked, what if they want to go back to the court?
Indeed, we expect them to appeal the judgment and take the full process. It's called the due process of law. We know that they should have left their seats immediately. They decamped from the party, from the PDP to the APC. They didn't. The court have now eventually ruled that they should leave. They will go on appeal, not because they believe they have any good case, but they believe that it is a process that will give them more time on the seats. So we expect, it is expected, it's their right, we expect them to go on appeal. But I do not see too much prospect with such an appeal.
Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thank you for your thoughts.
Thank you very much.
And the federal, beg your pardon, a huge crowd of supporters besieged the Wadata House, the National Secretariat of the People's Democratic Party faithful across the 20 local government areas of Ogun State, including political leaders. In Edo State, the government has raised its voice over insinuations that it has banned open grazing in the state. The secretary to the state government, Osarodion Ogie, explained that members of the State House of Assembly were yet to conclude the legislation on the bill seeking to criminalize open grazing. As such, the bill has not become a law, while concerned individuals and groups have been advised to go ahead and make their contributions before it is passed by the lawmakers. The SSG called on those who have reservations about any section of the bill to channel their grievances to the appropriate quarters. And civil society's organization, coalition, in Edo State has asked the State House of Assembly not to assent to a clause, to a clause ceding 20% of the state's farmable land for ranching. They are demanding the passage of the anti-open grazing bill to end all speculations raised by the delays. The bill, which is still in consideration and now at the second reading at the State House of Assembly, has generated tension over the stance of the legislatures.
No law is done in isolation without the people in consideration. We have seen a news item where it's like government was planning to cede some part of our land to herdsmen. So we have come to remind them that we don't have any land for herdsmen. No land in Edo should be ceded to herdsmen. And so we actually come to let them know.
Cattle rearing is a private business. Anybody that is interested in cattle rearing business should go and purchase a portion of land. The governor should not use this law to grab our land and give it to his cronies.
The man have honestly answered us that they will look into our paper and they will ask about it, that they will not
If that didn't happen, we didn't hear from them for us to be part of the committee to oversee everything and see the law in total. Gentlemen of the press, be rest assured that we will occupy this space again, and even the next time we decide to bring our foam and our mattresses to sleep in this House of Assembly. The same right you have as an Edo man, same right I have. I am only privileged to be here today to preside over this great institution on behalf of the people. And I join you to say that not an inch of Edo land will be ceded
As part of measures to reduce frequent cases of collapsed buildings and liabilities associated with it, the Lagos State government is set to introduce a mandatory insurance digital solution platform for all property owners in line with the federal government's Insurance Act. Our correspondent, Loviko Koyedoko, covered the press conference.
There has been cases of collapsed buildings across Nigeria, and Lagos is not an exception. This results in loss of lives and billions of naira in investments. The 21-story building in Ikoyi, Lagos, which collapsed on November 2nd, 2021, was under construction before it caved in. The state government has now taken the bull by the horn to prevent such occurrence.
In the last 44 years, there have been over 480 building collapses to be precise. And this is the information that we have. This is the data that we have. Imagine so much more that we didn't even capture. And this just highlights and goes to strengthen the importance of insurance. Many a times when these incidents, dangerous occurrences have occurred, the government is almost like the last resort where we then need to pay compensation. What we're saying now is safety is everybody's responsibility.
To reduce the burdens and losses incurred by victims of collapsed buildings, the state government enters into a collaboration with insurance companies to ensure safety and, in the event of liabilities, pay compensations to the persons concerned.
We want to, first of all, sensitize everyone that this insurance is not about IGR. It's not about what comes to the insurance industry. It's about the safety of all. You know, sometimes we say, God forbid, it will not happen. But many times we have seen it happening. And when it happens, some financial responsibilities come with it. And so, as much as we have agencies working with us that from the level of getting approval to put a building in place, they're going to ensure, working with other experts along the value chain, that the right thing is done.
Ilori adds that a digital solution platform will provide hitch-free and transparent activity. From Lagos, Love Ikuku Oyedoku, Plus TV News.
And ex-football internationals and Lagos All-Stars clashed over the weekend in a novelty match to commemorate the 70th birthday of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Supporters trooped to the Mobolaji Johnson Arena to witness the match, which featured J.J. Okocha, Kanu Nwankwo, Peter Rufai, and politicians across the country. Our correspondent Paul George reports.
From the tunnel to the main bowl of the stadium, the atmosphere is full of excitement as fans eagerly wait to catch a glimpse of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu. He is set to celebrate his 70th in a few weeks. Kitted in the colors of the national team with jersey number 10, he walks into the pitch. The match begins as ex-Super Eagles stars play against a selected Lagos All-Stars to honor the former governor and the national leader of All Progressives Congress. Victor Agali scores a brace to give the ex-internationals a 2-0 victory against Lagos All-Stars. Former Nigeria Super Eagles internationals Ike Shorumu and Taribo West shower encomiums on the APC leader.
That's to see the crowd that came out today to support our Asiwaju of Lagos, Bola Tinubu himself, and again to what he has done to Lagos State. I'm going to appreciate him to come so much, and with our ex-players.
If we look far back from Taribo West and friends, Kanu Nwankwo Foundation, Jojo Okocha Testimonial, Peter Rufai Academy, there is no life that he has not affected. So if he calls any one of us any day, any time, we'll make ourselves available. And in the process of that, behind that, if he has a visionary to become the next president of Nigeria, I see no problem about it by including us to just celebrate this 78th year of his time and season of birth. It's a great aspect to be around and also to celebrate with this great icon.
Plus TV News catches up with Joe Igokwe, former Lagos State APC spokesperson. He takes the conversation away from the pitch to the forthcoming general elections.
We are celebrating our leader. This is in preparation of his 70th birthday. And you know it's a milestone. And you know what is at stake. So we are using every opportunity to celebrate him. That's what is happening here today. I'm waiting for who is going to face Asiwaju. They are running, they are hiding. You know, in my village, there are masquerades, small ones. There's also a Nigerian masquerade, the biggest masquerade in Igbo land. When it is not in the field, other small masquerade will just be playing. Once that Nigerian masquerade comes out, all the small ones will disappear.
The man of the moment ends the event with a wave while his well-wishers echo their support for his presidential bid. Paul George, Plus TV News.
And still ahead, South African court suspends construction of Amazon's headquarters. Details in a moment. From other parts of Africa, about 95 people have been injured in Tunisia when two trains collided in the south of Tunis. A civil defense spokesman, Mouez Triana, who confirmed the incident, said one of the trains was not carrying passengers at the time, while those injured had been taken to the hospital. In recent years, Tunisia had experienced several fatal train accidents. Also from Tunisia, the President Kais Saied has said everyone will a 2-day visit to Mali without an agreement on a date for elections to return the country to civilian rule. Jonathan, who is mediating in Mali on behalf of ECOWAS, had sought to pin down a date for free elections after the initially proposed 5 years was too long. The military government in Mali, which seized power in 2020, said it regretted the lack of compromise at this stage. Portuguese President Marcelo Rebelo de Sousa has wrapped up a 3-day trip to Mozambique with a visit to 2 units of the European Union training mission in the country. Rebelo de Sousa said that resolving the conflict in Cabo Delgado in the north of Mozambique remained a priority for Portugal and the European Union. He stressed the need for Mozambique to guarantee the security of the people and defeat terrorism. A court in South Africa has ordered the suspension of the building works of Amazon's African headquarters. The court ruling, which took the side of indigenous communities who hold the site sacred, ordered developers to hold meaningful consultations with the Khoisan people who first resisted Portuguese colonizers on the site in 1510. In the previous ruling issued on 18th of March, the court acknowledged that the fundamental right to culture and heritage of indigenous groups, particularly the Khoi and San First Nation people, was threatened in the absence of proper consultation. And the former Prime Minister of Mali, Soumelu Boubei Maiga, who has been in detention in a case of illegal fraud, has died at the age of 67. A family member said Maiga died in a clinic in Bamako, surrounded by guards. Maiga, the heavyweight of Malian politics, was the Prime Minister of President Ibrahim Boubacar Keïta between 2017 and 2019, who came to power in 2013 and was overthrown in August 2020 by a military coup. The former Prime Minister had been held since August 2021 at the central prison in Bamako and was later transferred to the Bamako clinic in December, where he died. Outside Africa, President Volodymyr Zelensky says Ukraine would never bow to ultimatums from Russia and that cities such as Kyiv, Mariupol, or Kharkiv would not accept Russian occupation. Zelensky said Ukraine has an ultimatum with points in it, which, when followed, would end the war. Meanwhile, Ukrainian officials have defiantly rejected a Russian demand that their forces in Mariupol lay down their arms and raise white flags in exchange for safe passage out of the besieged port city. As Russia intensified efforts to pound Mariupol into submission, its ground offensive in other parts of Ukraine has become bogged down. Western officials and analysts have maintained the conflict was turning into a grinding war of attrition, with Russia bombarding cities. A Russian court has banned Facebook and Instagram in the country after tagging Meta platform an extremist. Russia had banned Facebook for restricting access to Russian media, while Instagram was blocked after Meta said it would allow social media users in Ukraine post messages. The court said the move triggered violence against Russian President Vladimir Putin and the troops Moscow sent into Ukraine on February the 24th. Washington said the attack was widespread and systematic. He added that evidence pointed to a clear intent to destroy the mainly Muslim minority.
That intent has been corroborated by the accounts of soldiers who took part in the operation and later defected. such as one who said he was told by his commanding officer to, and I quote, shoot at every sight of a person, end quote, burn villages, rape and kill women. Orders that he and his unit carried out. Since the coup, we've seen the Burmese military use many of the same tactics. Only now, the military is targeting anyone it sees as opposing or undermining its repressive rule. Since seizing power, the military has killed more than 1,670 men, women, and children, and unjustly detained at least 12,800 more in abysmal conditions. We're providing a wide range of support, including information, resources, and today I can announce that we're also contributing nearly $1 million in additional funding. We've also shared information with the Gambia in connection with the case it's filed against Burma under the Genocide Convention at the International Court of Justice for the atrocities committed against Rohingya.
Up next, Central Bank of Nigeria retains MPR at 11.5%, says Russia-Ukraine war poses risk to the global economy. That's in business news after this short break. The Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria has voted to hold on rate rose to 15.7% in February 2022, largely attributed to the uptick in core inflation from 13.87% recorded in January 2022 to 14.01% in the review month. Let's now join Adibanke for more business news.
You're welcome to the business news. I am Adibanke Odunui. The Minister of Mines and Steel Development, Olamileko Adigbite, has stressed the need for more professionalism and expertise to ensure the development of the mining sector in Nigeria. The Minister was represented by the Director General, Mining Cadastre Office, Obadiah Nkom, at the 57th Nigerian Mining and Geosciences Society Annual International Conference and Exhibition in Port Harcourt. According to him, the country needed those with competence for it to get the full potential from the vast mineral deposits spread across every state and local government area. He enjoined them to come up with clear, actionable initiatives that would help drive the division of the ministry in actualizing its mandate to diversify the economy through the sector. The federal government has incurred 950 billion naira new domestic borrowing between January 2022 and March 11, 2022, the Debt Management Office has revealed. The fresh borrowing was disclosed on March 17th in the presentation by the Public Debt Data as of December 31st, 2021 by the Director General of the DMO, Patience Oniha. In the document, Oniha disclosed that the federal government was considering all options to raise funds externally. According to the document, the federal government still plans to borrow an additional 1.6 trillion naira, while the 2022 debt target for domestic borrowing is 2.57 trillion naira. There is also a plan to borrow 2.57 trillion naira from foreign creditors, while 1.16 trillion naira is expected for multilateral/bilateral drawdowns. And the House of Representatives Committee on Public Accounts has written to the Group Managing Director of the defunct Nigerian National Petroleum Corporation, now Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, Mr. Mele Kyari. This is over audit queries issued against the NNPC and its subsidiaries. The committee had accused the elements in a letter to Kyari dated March 16, 2022. Those who appear on Friday, March 25th are Port Harcourt Refining Company, the NNPC Retail Limited, Integrated Data Service Limited, National Petroleum Investment and Management Services, and Petroleum Product Pricing Regulatory Agency. And France has frozen and seized assets of Russian oligarchs to the tune of 850 million euros. Property worth 539 million euros had been blocked, Le Maire French Economy Minister Bruno said. He said another 150 million euros from private accounts at French banks have been frozen and 2 yachts worth 150 million euros have been seized. France established a task force to implement EU sanctions against Russian oligarchs or those close to President Vladimir Putin. It is tasked with finding their assets in France and identifying the owners of bank accounts, luxury villas and yachts. It's a complicated endeavor due to the many shell companies used to hide identities. And that is the business news. I am Adebanke Odunoyi. The news continues.
Britney Spears is getting closer to making a comeback to the music industry. She is currently working on new music for the first time in 6 years, since her 2016 album, Glory, a month after her conservatorship ended. Back in December, Britney teased new music after going on an indefinite work hiatus back in early 2019, after wrapping up a Las Vegas residency. Actor and filmmaker Saeed Balogun is of the opinion that the country's movie industry needs the government's intervention to do better. He said, "Our people are doing so well. However, things would get better if the government could provide a proper structure for Nollywood, so that people who invest in the industry would be able to make profit. When people spend so much money to produce movies and they don't make their money back, they would lose interest in the industry. If the government provides a proper structure for Nollywood, we will be able to make money from what we produce and sell to Nigerians here in Nigeria." Balogun also noted that his focus was now on grooming young talent in the movie industry. Lakevia Jackson, the mother of one of Young Thug's children, has reportedly died. This is according to reports. A dispute at the Metro Front Center bowling alley in Atlanta escalated to gunfire. Reporter Tori Cooper spoke to Jackson's mother, who explained that Lakevia was at the bowling alley celebrating a friend's birthday when a fight apparently broke out over a bowling ball. The suspect then allegedly waited in the parking lot for 20 minutes until Lakevia left and shot her. The victim suffered multiple gunshot wounds. She was 31.
And finally, tonight's sports news.